The screech of tires. The sickening thud. My son Tommy's wheelchair spinning out like a toy in the middle of Maple Street. Blood dripping down his forehead. And Karen Whitfield, president of the HOA, just standing there with those perfectly manicured hands, acting like nothing had happened, even though she'd just shoved my boy hard enough to nearly kill him. I ran so fast, I swear time slowed, every step pounding with the realization that in 4 minutes, give or take, her world was about to shatter in ways she couldn't possibly imagine. She had no clue who she'd just picked a fight with. Not yet, but she would. Before I get to the part where America's top federal force turned our sleepy cul-de-sac into a full-blown lockdown zone, I want to rewind a bit, because, honestly, nobody ends up on a suburban street fighting for their kid's life unless something's been festering for a long time. Let me back up a sec. My name is Marcus Chun. Until that September afternoon, I really thought I was just another single dad, doing his best for a kid who'd already had more thrown at him than most adults can handle. Tommy was born with spina bifida, paralyzed from the waist down, but he's got this smile that could power a city and a laugh that makes the world seem lighter, at least on the good days. We moved to Willowbrook Estates thinking it was a safe place, a place where Tommy could just be another kid on a bike. Well, his version of a bike, anyway. Turns out, what we actually found was Karen Whitfield. 52, silver hair, not a strand out of place, and a smile colder than February rain. She ran the HOA like it was her personal kingdom, 6 years in the top seat, ruling over 100 families with rules about paint colors, mailbox heights, even what flowers you could plant. She came to our door 3 weeks after we moved in, clipboard in hand, that fake friendly tone, telling me Tommy's wheelchair ramp violated architectural guidelines because it wasn't the right color. I offered to paint it, thinking she'd go away. But with Karen, nothing is ever that simple. That ramp became the start of her crusade. It was never really about property values or the color of our ramp. It was about Tommy, about difference. She started slow, first a formal warning about the ramp, then a fine because Tommy's wheelchair left marks on the sidewalk. She actually complained about his laughter, said it was too loud for the community noise ordinances. She tried to ban his therapy sessions in our own backyard, saying the equipment was an eyesore. Everything came with a threat, always on HOA letterhead, always promising legal consequences if we didn't comply. I tried to be reasonable. I painted the ramp beige. I swept the sidewalk every morning. I moved Tommy's therapy gear into the garage. But it never ended, and she never relented. Meanwhile, Tommy kept being Tommy. He rolled to the bus stop every morning, excited to tell anyone who'd listen about his class or the therapy dog that visited school. The neighbors loved him. Mrs. Rodriguez next door baked him cookies. The Johnson twins invited him to chalk art weekends. Even old Mr. Peterson waved from his mower. Everyone, it seemed, except Karen. For her, my son's existence was an affront. The real escalation hit on a Tuesday, the sort of day that makes you wish you could go back to bed and start over. Tommy was shooting baskets after school, sun catching the rainbow glint on his wheels, when Karen pulled up in her Mercedes. I heard her outside, voice sharp and low, talking to someone on her phone. Those accommodations are killing our property values. There has to be a way to get rid of them. My stomach dropped. This wasn't just harassment. She was plotting how to force us out, legally if she could, anyway if she had to. Then she hung up, marched across the street, and went straight for Tommy. Her heels clicked like gunshots. She stood there, blocking his path, gray eyes narrowed. "This ends today," she snapped, making sure the neighbors could hear. She actually pointed at his wheelchair and said, "That contraption doesn't belong in a family neighborhood." Tommy looked up, confused, apologizing for being loud. The innocence in his voice, God, it made her words hurt more. "You shouldn't be here at all," she spat. "Children like you need to be somewhere else. Not here." I saw his shoulders drop. I felt something inside me harden. "Karen, that's enough," I said, stepping between her and Tommy. She glared at me, launching into threats, property values, lawsuits, violations, discrimination claims. The neighbors started gathering, drawn by the shouting. Tommy looked up at me, fear in his eyes. "Daddy, are we in trouble? Do we have to move away?" That broke me. I knelt, told him, "We're not going anywhere. This is our home." But Karen was just getting started, talking about getting the county involved, sending us a court order. And I realized then, she was actually enjoying this, feeding off Tommy's fear. What Karen didn't know, what nobody in Willowbrook knew, was that I trained the very people who protect the highest offices in the land. Secret Service. My day job was Senior Tactical Training Coordinator. I'd brief new agents that very morning, taught them how to spot danger and respond in seconds. But somehow, I'd failed to protect my own kid from the neighborhood bully. And then Karen crossed the line. She grabbed Tommy's wheelchair handles. Maybe she thought if she just moved him, we'd finally get the message. She jerked him so hard the chair lurched backward. Tommy's face went white. He barely had time to grab the wheels before she shoved him. The chair flew into the street, right as a delivery truck came barreling down Maple. For one split second, the world just stopped. Tommy screamed. The truck driver, head down in his GPS, didn't even see him at first. I ran, faster than I ever have in my life. Everything else faded out. Neighbors yelling, Karen shouting, the truck's engine roaring. I caught the wheelchair just as it hit the curb, yanked it sideways, and went down hard. The truck screeched to a stop inches from us. I held Tommy, shaking, bleeding but alive. And just like that, something snapped inside me. Karen Whitfield hadn't just tried to ruin our lives. She tried to kill my son. That's attempted murder. That's a hate crime. The driver jumped out, apologizing, horrified. Mrs. Rodriguez was already calling 911. Mr. Peterson, voice trembling, told the officers what he saw. Karen tried to play it off as an accident, but nobody was buying it. You could see it on her face. She knew she'd gone too far, but still didn't understand the storm that was about to hit her. I called the Secret Service Operations Center. This is Senior Coordinator Chun. Attempted murder of a federal dependent. Hate crime enhancement. Perpetrator present, no remorse. For minutes later, black SUVs rolled in like something out of a movie. Agents I'd trained myself stepped out. Karen's jaw actually dropped. She tried to assert her HOA president authority. You can't just come in here. I'm in charge. But Agent Kim shut her down, credentials flashing. Ma'am, you're under federal investigation for attempted murder of a federal dependent and committing a hate crime against a disabled child. The neighbors stood silent as agents surrounded Karen, her power vanishing in an instant. I walked over, told her exactly who I was, what I did, and who she'd been targeting all these months. The realization hit her. This wasn't some powerless single dad. This was the guy who trains the people who protect the president. The evidence against her was overwhelming. Years of harassment, documentation, surveillance photos, emails to other HOA leaders about undesirables. In court, Tommy testified via video. When asked why Karen hurt him, he said, "She was mad my wheelchair looked different. I just want to play." The jury was out for less than 2 hours. Guilty on all counts. Karen Whitfield got 32 years in federal prison. The judge called her actions an assault on the rights of all Americans to live peacefully, regardless of ability. And the community changed overnight. New bylaws protecting disabled families. Neighbors rallied. They built an accessible playground. Tommy's confidence soared. He joined the local basketball league, rolling right past the limits people once tried to put on him. You want a twist? Karen ended up working in prison with disabled inmates, writing me a letter about how Tommy's forgiveness changed her. She donated her estate to disability organizations. In Willowbrook, it became a model of inclusion, proof that a community is only as strong as how it protects its most vulnerable. Tommy now speaks to schools and Congress about inclusion. His story helped pass new laws protecting disabled kids. Even the delivery driver who nearly hit him started a foundation to provide safety gear for children with mobility aids. And the real victory? Every night, when I tuck Tommy in, he tells me, "Daddy, maybe someday Mrs. Whitfield can play basketball with us." That's my son. He believes in second chances, in forgiveness over hate. Maybe that's the lesson we all need right now. So, what do you think? Can people really change? Or does justice mean drawing a line that can't be crossed? Drop your thoughts below, share this story, and let's talk. What would you have done if it were your child? Where do you draw the line between forgiveness and justice in your own community?